Would you want for your son to say something?
I can't honestly say I would want my son, especially your age.
King
I know
older.
he's
he older.
our son, but
Yeah.
ain't he older?
He
Like
older.
he's 20 or 21 or something.
Yeah.
I would just want to handle it myself. I wouldn't want my kids or like my family to.
But people that love you, you can't tell them.
Two rap legends who once had a very public falling out showed up together, unannounced, to confront their sons on a music video set because guns were in the shot. That moment alone tells you everything about where King Harris is right now. And it tells you something about T.I. and Boosie Badazz that most people didn't expect to see from either of them. Here's the full story. The rivalry between the fathers, the path King has been on, the viral rumors that pulled everything back into the spotlight, and why that music video scene ended up being one of the more genuinely surprising moments in hip-hop parenting anyone has seen recently. King Harris, born Clifford Joseph Harris, grew up as the son of T.Y. and Tamika Tiny Harris. Cameras were around him before he was old enough to understand what that meant. Millions of viewers watched him grow up on the reality series T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, which meant his personality, his arguments with his parents, and his early mistakes all became public content. By the time he was a teenager, the internet already had opinions about him before he'd done anything on his own. He started building a music career under the name Kid Cyan. Trap-influenced sounds, melodic rap, a few projects that showed genuine effort to step out of his father's shadow. He appeared on Wild 'N Out. He worked at building his own name. But the controversies followed. At an Atlanta Falcons game live-streamed in 2023, he got into a heated argument with his parents on camera, claiming he hadn't grown up with the luxury people assumed. The clip spread immediately. Then came the Waffle House incident, where an argument over a food order went viral. Then, in October 2024, he was pulled over in Georgia after his vehicle nearly hit a patrol car at a gas station. Officers found a firearm on him and an outstanding warrant for missed court appearances. He was arrested, each incident stacked on top of the last. By late 2024, the pattern around King Harris was established in the public's mind. Talented, recognizable, but generating the wrong kind of headlines consistently. Then came the baby. T mentioned on Atlanta radio station Hot 107.9 that King was expecting a child. Months later, King's son was born. He named him King Harris Jr. and released a song called Dear Son, dedicated to his newborn. For a stretch of time, the conversation around him shifted. People talked about growth and responsibility rather than arrests and arguments. Even T publicly said he was proud. That window of positive attention didn't last long. Clips started circulating across TikTok, X, and YouTube that sparked new rumors about King's personal life. The clips were short, often taken out of context, and spread faster than anyone could respond to them. Different versions of different stories began multiplying. Rumors about his relationship, questions about his baby, speculation about family tension. The more people shared, the more the narrative grew in directions that had nothing to do with whatever was actually in the original footage. That's how internet culture works now. A clip doesn't need to show anything specific to generate a story. It just needs to exist and start moving. One name that kept appearing in the discussions was Boosie Badazz, because whenever Boosie's name gets attached to a trending story, the audience expands immediately. People know he says exactly what he thinks, which means any connection between him and a controversy automatically gets clicks. But Boosie's connection to this story isn't just about engagement. It goes back years. T.I. and Boosie came up in the same era of Southern hip-hop. T.I. building his name out of Atlanta, Boosie becoming one of the defining voices out of Baton Rouge. For a period, they were close enough that a joint album was being discussed. Fans in the South were genuinely excited about that idea. Two artists who understood the same world, making music together. It never happened. The relationship broke down after T.I. told a story on his podcast about a past firearm case. In the story, he explained that his lawyer had suggested placing responsibility for the weapon on a cousin who had already died. When Boosie heard the explanation in an interview context, he reacted publicly and with force. He said the story didn't sit right with him and called it out directly. His comments spread across hip-hop media fast, and what had been a private disagreement between people who respected each other became a public feud with diss tracks and online arguments following. For a while, it looked permanent, but eventually, conversations happened behind the scenes. Both men made statements suggesting the situation had been misunderstood, that they had spoken privately, and that things had moved toward resolution. The feud cooled down. The joint album was gone, but the outright hostility faded. and their son stayed connected the whole time. King Harris and Boosie's son Torrance Tootie Raw Hatch Jr. had their own friendship that developed independently of whatever was happening between their fathers. They started making music together. That collaboration felt like it could become something real. Two young artists with Southern hip-hop in their DNA, figuring out their own sound. Then the music video happened. King and Tootie Raw were filming together. The setup included guns, firearms as props in the shot, which is common in rap videos and not unusual on its own. What was unusual was what happened next. Both fathers showed up. T.I. and Boosie arrived on set together and confronted their sons directly about the guns in the video. Boosie went first, asking them plainly why they needed weapons in their visuals at all. T.I. followed with a more pointed message, explaining that both of them had spent significant portions of their lives dealing with the real consequences of exactly the image their sons were trying to project. Federal charges, prison time, cases that changed the direction of their careers. The message from both of them was the same: you don't need this, and you don't understand yet what it actually costs. Fans reacted to the footage in a way that surprised a lot of people. Instead of the usual debate about whether celebrity parents were being overprotective or hypocritical, the general response was that the moment felt genuine. Two men who had personal reasons to understand what guns in that context actually mean, standing together despite their own complicated history, trying to redirect their kids. It was the kind of thing people rarely see from artists who have built entire careers on projecting a specific image. While that moment was still being discussed, the rumors about King's personal life intensified again. King addressed them directly by going live with his girlfriend and their baby. During the stream, he told viewers the stories circulating online were false, that clips had been edited and taken out of context, and that people were building narratives around footage that didn't mean what they were claiming it meant. He and his girlfriend pointed out how much the baby looked like members of his family, a deliberate visual response to anyone questioning paternity. For his supporters, the live stream was clear and straightforward. For the portion of the internet that had already committed to a different story, it didn't fully land. That's the reality of trying to correct a viral rumor. The correction rarely travels as far or as fast as the original claim. Ty continued showing public support throughout all of it. He appeared in videos with his grandson, at one point jokingly calling the baby the world's greatest gangster, a line that carried warmth underneath the humor. His position was consistent and visible. Regardless of what the internet was saying, he was standing with his family. That consistency matters in context. T.I. has been through federal charges, prison, public scrutiny, and years of controversy. When he shows up publicly to support his son, it's not ignorance of what the criticism looks like. He's seen criticism at a level most people never experience. His presence signals a deliberate choice to stand by King despite the noise. What the full picture shows is a young man at a genuinely difficult point. King Harris is 20 years old, building a music career, raising a child, carrying a famous last name that makes every mistake larger, and navigating an internet culture that is specifically designed to keep controversial stories alive longer than they deserve to be. The music video confrontation showed something real about who T.I. and Boosie are as fathers. Two men who have lived the consequences of certain choices and chose to show up together to try to interrupt that pattern before it replicated itself in the next generation. Whether King is absorbing those lessons the way his father hopes is something only the next few years will answer. The controversies haven't stopped. The rumors keep circulating. The clips keep spreading. But King is still making music, still present for his son, and still figuring out who he is outside of the story the internet keeps writing about him. That's a harder thing to do publicly than most people realize. Do you think King Harris is on a path toward turning things around? Or do you think the pattern is already too established? Drop your take in the comments. Subscribe for more breakdowns on hip-hop's biggest family stories.